What happens when a royal guest walks onto one of America's most beloved morning shows and turns a friendly interview into a full-blown disaster? In just 36 seconds, one comment would spark a meltdown so intense that security would be called and cameras would stop rolling. This is the story of how a simple question led to the most shocking exit in talk show history. The Today Show set was bright and welcoming that morning. Savannah Guthrie sat across from Meghan Markle, ready to have what everyone assumed would be a pleasant conversation. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement. This was supposed to be easy. A few questions about life, family, maybe some light-hearted moments. Nothing controversial, nothing difficult. But from the very first question, something felt off. So Savannah smiled warmly and started with what seemed like the gentlest possible opening. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I know our viewers are so excited to hear from you. Let's start simple. How are you doing today? Meghan stared at her for a long moment. Not a friendly pause. Not a thoughtful pause. A cold, hard stare that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. Then she finally spoke. How am I doing? Really? That's what you're starting with? Savannah's smile faltered just slightly, but she kept her professional composure. Well, yes. I thought we could ease into things. Just start with a casual check-in before we dive deeper. Casual, Meghan repeated, her voice dripping with disdain. There's nothing casual about what I've been through. But sure, let's pretend like everything is fine and dandy, shall we? The audience shifted in their seats. This wasn't the warm, friendly energy they'd expected. Savannah, ever the professional, tried to pivot. Of course, and we definitely want to give you space to talk about your experiences. That's why you're here. So let me ask you this. What do you want people to understand most about your story? Meghan leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. What I want people to understand is that I've been vilified by a system that never wanted me to succeed in the first place. And now I'm sitting here, having to explain myself to someone who couldn't possibly understand what I've been through. Savannah blinked, clearly taken aback by the hostility. I'm not trying to make you explain yourself. I'm just trying to have a conversation. A conversation, Meghan scoffed. Is that what you call this? Because it feels more like an interrogation. I've asked you 2 questions, Savannah said, her voice still calm, but with a hint of confusion. And both of them were about giving you a platform to share your perspective. Your tone says everything, Meghan shot back. The way you're sitting there, looking at me like I'm some kind of difficult person. I can see it in your eyes. You've already decided who I am before I even opened my mouth. The camera operators glanced at each other nervously. This was spiraling fast. Savannah took a deep breath, clearly trying to reset the conversation. I can assure you, that's not the case at all. I came into this interview with an open mind and genuine curiosity about your experiences. I think maybe we got off on the wrong foot here. Why don't we start over? Meghan laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Start over? You mean so you can ask me more patronizing questions and act like you care? I do care, Savannah said, and for the first time, a slight edge crept into her voice. That's why I invited you here. That's why we're having this conversation in the first place. You invited me here for ratings, Meghan snapped. Let's not pretend this is about anything other than your network wanting a big name on the show. You don't care about me or my story. You just want the spectacle. Savannah sat up straighter, her professional mask cracking just a bit. That's not fair, and you know it. I've built my career on respectful, thoughtful interviews. I've never ambushed a guest or tried to create drama for drama's sake. Oh, please, Meghan said, rolling her eyes dramatically. You media people are all the same. You smile to my face and then twist everything I say the moment the cameras stop rolling. The cameras are rolling right now, Savannah pointed out, her voice steady. And I haven't twisted a single thing you've said. In fact, I've barely had a chance to say anything because you've been attacking me since the moment you sat down. The audience was completely silent now. This wasn't entertainment anymore. This was uncomfortable. This was real tension playing out in real time. Meghan leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. I'm not attacking you. I'm simply refusing to play your game. I know how this works. You ask me seemingly innocent questions. I give you honest answers. And then you and your team edit it to make me look bad. Well, I'm not falling for it. There's no editing in a live interview, Savannah said, her patience clearly wearing thin. Everything you're saying right now is going out to millions of people exactly as you're saying it. So if you come across poorly, that's not on me or my team. That's on you. Meghan's face flushed red. Excuse me? Are you seriously blaming me for your hostile interview style? What hostile interview style? Savannah's voice rose slightly, her frustration finally breaking through. I asked you how you were doing, and what you wanted people to understand. Those are literally the two most basic, open-ended, friendly questions I could possibly ask. You're the one who came in here with an attitude. An attitude, Meghan repeated mockingly. Wow, there it is. The real Savannah Guthrie. I knew you had it in you. Just couldn't help yourself, could you? I'm being honest with you, Savannah said firmly. Which is more than I can say for how you're treating me and this interview. I'm trying to give you a fair platform, and you're acting like I'm your enemy. You are my enemy, Meghan said, her voice rising. You and everyone like you. You pretend to be objective, but you're just as biased as the rest of them. You sit there in your comfortable chair, in your comfortable life, and you judge people like me who've actually been through something. Savannah's jaw tightened. You don't know anything about my life or what I've been through. And frankly, it's incredibly presumptuous of you to assume that you're the only person who's ever faced challenges. Oh, I'm sorry, Meghan said with heavy sarcasm. Did I hurt your feelings? How terrible for you. Must be so hard sitting there in your cozy morning show host job, asking vapid questions and collecting your paycheck. The tension in the studio was unbearable now. Production staff were frantically whispering to each other off camera. This needed to end. But it kept going. Savannah's voice was ice cold now. I've treated you with nothing but respect since you arrived. I prepared thoughtful questions. I gave you every opportunity to share your perspective, and you've responded by being rude, dismissive, and insulting. Not just to me, but to my colleagues and this entire production. Thoughtful questions, Meghan laughed bitterly. Is that what you call asking me how I'm doing? Groundbreaking journalism, Savannah. Really hard-hitting stuff. It was a greeting, Savannah said slowly, as if explaining to a child. It's called being polite. It's what people do when they start a conversation. But clearly, politeness isn't something you value very much. Meghan stood up abruptly, her microphone making a loud scratching sound. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. You're absolutely right, Savannah said, also standing. You don't. And honestly, I don't think our viewers want to watch this anymore either. This was supposed to be an interview, not a therapy session for your grievances against the media. How dare you? Meghan's voice was shaking with anger now. You have no idea what I've been through. The attacks, the lies, the constant scrutiny, and now you're sitting here, adding to it. I'm not adding to anything, Savannah said, her voice firm but controlled. I'm simply responding to how you're treating me. You walked in here with a chip on your shoulder, and you've been looking for a fight since the moment you sat down. Well, congratulations. You found one. This is unbelievable, Meghan said, starting to unhook her microphone. I came here in good faith, trying to tell my story, and you attack me. Stop, Savannah said, holding up her hand. Just stop. We both know that's not what happened here. You didn't come here in good faith. You came here angry and defensive, and you took it out on me. Own it. At least have the courage to own it. Meghan's hands were shaking as she fumbled with the microphone cord. I want to leave. Right now. No one's stopping you. Savannah said quietly. "The door's right there." A producer rushed onto the set, trying to calm the situation. "Ladies, please, can we just take a breath here and—" "No," Meghan cut him off. "I'm done. This interview is over." Savannah crossed her arms. "I think that's probably for the best." "You know what your problem is?" Meghan said, turning back to face Savannah one more time. "You think you're better than me. You think because you have this platform, this show, that you have some kind of moral authority. But you're just another cog in the machine. Just another person tearing down women who dare to speak their truth." "My problem," Savannah said, her voice steady and clear, "is that I invited someone onto my show who I thought wanted to have a genuine conversation. Instead, I got someone who wanted to pick a fight and play the victim. And I'm not interested in playing along." Meghan's face was bright red now. "You have no idea what it's like to be me. None. You sit here in your little bubble, completely insulated from real criticism, real hatred. Don't you dare lecture me about playing the victim when you've never been victimized a day in your life." "Again," Savannah said calmly, "you don't know me. You don't know my life. You don't know what I've faced or overcome. But the difference between us is that I don't use my struggles as a weapon against other people." "Oh, you are unbelievable," Meghan practically shouted. "Absolutely unbelievable. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This right here. This dismissive, condescending attitude." "I'm not being dismissive," Savannah said. "I'm being honest. And I think that's what's really bothering you. You're not used to people being honest with you. You're used to people either worshiping you or attacking you, and you don't know what to do with someone who's just being straightforward." Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. "I'm leaving, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly how I was treated here today." "Feel free," Savannah said. "Tell whatever story you want. But everyone watching saw exactly what happened here. They saw me try to have a civil conversation, and they saw you respond with hostility and accusations. So good luck spinning that." "You're going to regret this," Meghan said, her voice low and threatening. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Savannah actually smiled at that, a cold professional smile. "Is that a threat?" "Because it sounds like a threat." "It's a promise," Meghan said. "You think you can treat me like this and just get away with it? You think there won't be consequences?" Now the producer stepped in more forcefully. "Okay, I think we need to end this right now. Meghan, if you want to leave, we'll escort you out. Savannah, maybe we should cut to commercial." But Savannah held up her hand. "No, not yet. I want to address this directly." She looked straight into the camera. "To everyone watching at home, I apologize that this interview didn't go the way any of us hoped. I came into this with the intention of having a respectful, open conversation. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. And I think you all deserve to know that I did my best to keep this civil and productive." "Oh, playing to the camera now," Meghan said mockingly. "Very professional, Savannah. Really showing your true colors." Savannah ignored her and continued speaking to the camera. "We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have a different segment for you. Thank you for your patience and understanding." Meghan was walking toward the edge of the set now, but she turned back one more time. "You know what? I feel sorry for you. I really do. You're so caught up in protecting your precious reputation that you can't even see how you treat people. You're everything that's wrong with the media." Savannah finally turned away from the camera to face Meghan directly. "And you're everything that's wrong with celebrity culture. You think being famous means you don't have to treat people with basic decency. You think your status gives you permission to be rude and demanding. Well, it doesn't. Not here. Not on my show." "Your show," Meghan sneered. "Listen to yourself. So territorial. So protective. Maybe if you spent less time worrying about your show and more time actually listening to people, you'd be a better journalist." "I tried to listen to you," Savannah said, her voice tired now. "For 20 minutes, I've tried. But you don't want to be listened to. You want to be agreed with. You want someone to sit here and nod along while you rant about how unfair everything is. And I'm sorry, but that's not my job. Your job, Meghan said, is to give people a platform to share their stories. But you can't even do that without making it about yourself. I haven't made this about myself, Savannah said. You're the one who started attacking me personally the moment I asked you a simple question. You made this personal. You made this hostile. I just refused to be a doormat about it. Security personnel were now visible at the edge of the set, clearly ready to intervene if needed. The producer was making urgent hand signals to the control room. Meghan saw the security guards and laughed. Wow, really? You're going to have me escorted out like some kind of criminal? This is pathetic. You said you wanted to leave, Savannah reminded her. They're just here to make sure that happens smoothly. I can find my own way out. Thank you very much, Meghan said indignantly. I don't need your goons following me around. They're not goons, Savannah said. They're security professionals doing their job, just like I'm trying to do mine, which, by the way, you've made incredibly difficult. Meghan took a step closer to Savannah, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper that the microphone still picked up. You're going to pay for this. I promise you that. No one treats me like this and gets away with it. Savannah didn't flinch. Is that another threat? Because I'm starting to lose count. It's a fact, Meghan hissed. You have no idea the kind of influence I have, the people I know, the platforms I have access to. This will follow you for the rest of your career. Then I guess we'll both have stories to tell, Savannah said evenly. The difference is, mine will be true. That was apparently the final straw. Meghan let out a sound of pure frustration and turned on her heel, storming off the set. But she wasn't done yet. She stopped at the edge of the stage and turned back one more time. You know what I think? Meghan called out, her voice echoing through the studio. I think you're jealous. Jealous that I've lived a more interesting life than you ever will. Jealous that people actually care about what I have to say. Savannah shook her head slowly. If you really believed that, you wouldn't need to say it out loud. I pity you, Meghan said. I genuinely pity you. You're going to wake up tomorrow and realize what you've done. How you've treated someone who came here trying to share something important. And you're going to have to live with that. I'll sleep just fine, Savannah said. My conscience is clear. I treated you with respect until you made that impossible. Everything that happened here today is on you. Meghan opened her mouth to respond, but the producer finally stepped fully between them. Okay, that's enough. Meghan, please. Let's just get you out of here calmly. Don't touch me, Meghan snapped at the producer, jerking her arm away. I'm leaving. Happily. I wouldn't stay in this toxic environment for another second if you paid me. She started walking toward the exit, her heels clicking loudly on the studio floor. The audience sat in stunned silence, not sure if they should applaud, boo, or just sit quietly. Most chose silence, but Meghan wasn't quite finished. Just before she reached the studio door, she turned around one final time and shouted across the space. This isn't over, Savannah. Not by a long shot. You just made the biggest mistake of your career. Savannah, still standing on the set, looked directly at her and said simply, Goodbye, Meghan. And with that, Meghan Markle pushed through the studio doors and disappeared, leaving behind a shocked audience, a bewildered production crew, and a host who looked equal parts relieved and exhausted. Savannah stood there for a moment, taking a deep breath. Then she turned to the camera with a weary smile. Well, that happened. I think we all need a minute to process that. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I promise we'll have something much more pleasant for you. The camera cut away, and the studio erupted in whispers and murmurs. Staff members rushed to Savannah's side, asking if she was okay, if she needed anything. She waved them off politely, still maintaining her composure, even though her hands were shaking slightly. One of the producers approached her cautiously. Savannah, are you all right? That was intense. I'm fine, she said, though her voice was tight. Just give me a minute. Do you want to talk about what happened? Maybe debrief before we go back on air? Savannah shook her head. What's there to talk about? You all saw what happened. She came in looking for a fight, and when I didn't give her the reaction she wanted, she escalated. That's all there is to it. Should we address it when we come back from commercial? Another producer asked. Briefly, Savannah said. I'll say something short, and then we move on. I'm not giving that tantrum any more airtime than it already got. The makeup artist rushed over to touch up Savannah's face, and she sat still, letting the woman work while her mind clearly raced through everything that had just happened. You handled that incredibly well, the makeup artist said softly. I don't know how you stayed so calm. Years of practice, Savannah said with a slight smile, although I have to admit, that was a new one even for me. As the commercial break continued, Savannah stood up and walked to the edge of the set, looking out at the audience. Many of them looked concerned. Some looked excited by the drama they'd just witnessed. Others just looked confused. She addressed them directly. I'm sorry you all had to witness that. That's not the kind of show we run here, and it's not the kind of interview I ever want to conduct. But sometimes things don't go as planned, and all you can do is handle it with as much grace as possible. Several audience members nodded supportively. One woman called out, You were great, Savannah. You didn't do anything wrong. Savannah smiled gratefully. Thank you. I appreciate that. The stage manager called out, 30 seconds to air. Savannah took her seat again, smoothing her clothes and taking one more deep breath. When the camera light turned red, she looked directly into the lens with a calm, professional expression. Welcome back, she said warmly. As you all just witnessed, our planned interview took an unexpected turn. I want to thank you for sticking with us through that difficult moment. Here at Today, we always strive to have respectful, meaningful conversations with our guests, but sometimes despite our best efforts, things don't work out as hoped. We're going to move forward now with our next segment, which I think you'll really enjoy. And just like that, she pivoted seamlessly into the next part of the show, as if the last 30 minutes hadn't just completely upended what was supposed to be a routine morning interview. Behind the scenes, producers were already frantically making phone calls, preparing statements, and trying to get ahead of what they knew would be a media firestorm. But on camera, Savannah Guthrie remained poised, professional, and completely in control. Because at the end of the day, that's what separated a true professional from someone who just wanted the spotlight. Savannah knew how to handle pressure. She knew how to maintain her dignity, even when someone else was losing theirs. And she knew that the best response to chaos was calm, steady competence. The rest of the show went off without a hitch. Savannah interviewed a celebrity chef, discussed a new book with an author, and covered the day's news stories with her usual warmth and intelligence. To anyone just tuning in, you'd never know that anything unusual had happened. But everyone who had been there, everyone who had watched that interview implode in real time, knew they'd witnessed something extraordinary. Not because of the drama, not because of the conflict, but because they'd seen a consummate professional refuse to be rattled by someone determined to create chaos. When the show finally wrapped, Savannah sat in her dressing room, finally allowing herself to feel the weight of what had happened. Her hands were shaking now, the adrenaline wearing off and leaving exhaustion in its wake.